Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to thank to all of you for participating and joining us today. Aramızda genç futbolcu arkadaşlarım var. Onlara kocaman bir alkış rica ediyorum. 1207 Antalya Spor Kulübü A takım futbolcuları ve Antalya Deniz Spor Kulübü futbolcuları hoş geldiniz. As a matter of fact, we are going to be talking about women football today. So, welcome to the fourth day of Winter League. So, we are going to be starting our panels right now. So, empowering female footballers, contracts, career opportunities, and beyond. Please welcome our guests, Elçin Mamadov, Head of Football Association of Football Federations of Azerbaijan, Head of Club Licensing. Welcome. Our next guest is Hassan El Shami, Assistant Head of Football Arab Contracts Group. Next guest is Sara Solamale, ex-FIFA Governance Senior Manager. Please welcome. Fatih Abol Egadeyal, Regional Association Football Operations, LTT Sports. And Çiğdem Turkan, Professional Game Academy Auditor, PGAAC Premier League. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Today we are going to speak about one of the most resilient products in the football industry. It's a product that really started with men's football, but waited for almost 61 years to have its first World Cup in 1991, and waited almost for 24 years to have its first Euros. That was in 1984. Although of such challenges, the product grow more and more, become stronger and stronger. So today we will discuss a bit about how this product overcome all these challenges and some factors related to this growth. We are having here a unique mix of expertise, like from Premier League, from FIFA, from Arab Contractors Football Club, from UEFA, Azerbaijan Football Associations. And here I just want to present my guests. So first of all, Çiğdem Turkan from Premier League, and Mrs. Sara Solimali, for FIFA. Captain Hassan El Shami from Arab Contractors Football Club, and Mr. Elçin Mamadov from Azerbaijan Football Associations. So, first of all, Mr. Elçin, Azerbaijan is one of the most growing football associations in the last years, and have more potential to do and more potential growth. So, I would like just you to introduce yourself a bit about how you were really involved in this. Introduce yourself about how it goes in Azerbaijan and how this potential has become more and more growing.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. So, if I would give a brief introduction about development of women's football in Azerbaijan, it all started actually in 2012 when we were host for the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. And at that time, when the federation won the bid, it happened like few years before the event. And at that time, imagine there is no any league. There are no girls actually playing and registered in the federation, so the federation had to start to build from the scratch. Of course, we benefited from the experience from foreign coaches, first of all. We had a German coach for under-17 national team, and then she started with colleagues the selection, going from school to the school, finding first girls who are interested in the football, and secondly, who will be able to make this the national team. The second step was, of course, improving infrastructure in the country, because such a big event needed proper infrastructure, and then of course leagues. We started from the really like small level, and then we build up on these leagues. And actually, this is what I consider real legacy for us, because now leagues are in place, which obviously needs to be more developed. National team is doing comparatively well now. And we have infrastructure in place, which is long-term investment, of course.
So, thank you so much, Alcan. Yeah, it seems that you come very long, very long journey, which we will come about later. So, Captain Hassan, I just want you to introduce yourself. You're working for Arab Contractors Football Club, which is actually one of the most unique clubs in Egypt. So, I would just like you to introduce yourself a bit about yourself and also about the club.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you today. Thank you to the organizers of this conference. Thank you for the kind invitation to represent my great country, Egypt, also my club, the Arab Contractors Club, which is one of the greatest clubs in Egypt and the third Egyptian clubs to winning championship, has a great history in Africa. So I'm very happy and I'm proud to be a part from this club. But excuse me, because I prefer to speak in my Arabic language, because there are many people following us from Egypt. So Fathi will translate for you.
Yeah, no pressure.
And I will answer the question in Arabic. Thank you.
So we have also Mrs. Sarah Soleimani. So Sarah, you worked for very long career within very sensitive areas within the main governing body of the game that really started to develop, that really put it the first step to develop the game until we witness now the recent growth about the game. So just introduction about yourself. So.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the WLC organizers for the invitation. I'm really happy also to share this moment within this panel, this roundtable, and I hope it will be of use for the participants this morning. So, as mentioned by Fatih, my name is Sarah Soleimani. I've been working at FIFA for 10 years. I finished at the end of last year after 10 years. And I will join now the European Club Association. At FIFA, I was in charge mostly of legal and governance matters. I helped in the past 5.5 years national federations to reform themselves in order for them to have the proper governance structure, in order to bring their game, bring football to the next level. This initiative was taking place because of the FIFA reform process that occurred in 2016, and it was then important to flow down all these reforms, governance reforms, at national level as well. So in this context, I accompanied national federations in many governance matters, including the involvement of women in the game, ensuring their participation that is on the pitch, but also off the pitch through eligibility criteria that would allow women to take part within decision-making bodies and also the highest level of decision-making body executive committees.
Wow! What about it? What a journey! What about it? You really take it also, from very early stages. You was part of implementation of this massive growth that we are witnessing now about the game. So, for sure we have to come to this later. And this is my colleague in moderation in this panel, Mrs. Shidam. So, just a quick introduction about because you are being now involved in the critical part of also the game, because in men's we always care about the football from the grassroots and how it's effective on the quality of the game, which is actually your core of expertise about Premier League, and you recently now joining it about also women's football. So just a quick introduction about yourself for our audience today.
Okay. İlk önce herkese merhaba. Burada olmaktan çok mutluyum. Ben de İngilizce konuşacağım diğer konuşmacılarla aynı olsun diye ama bugün burada bayan futbolcuları görmek çok mutlu etti bizi. Orada herkes onu konuşuyordu. Geldiğiniz için çok teşekkür ederiz. In terms of my role, I don't have a core role in the women's game right now, but I've been in football for about 12 seasons now. And I come from a football club background, and obviously football clubs have always had some element of women's game structures. That was more amateur, that was more grassroots, but in the recent years we've seen more funding, more resource, and more structures going into the women's game. My background's in various parts of football club operations, whether that was stadium management for several years, grassroots, governance, and more recently I've transitioned into the league property, so I'm with the Premier League's Academy Audit Company. Our key stakeholders are the Premier League, the EFL and the FA, and they work together to govern the academy system and youth development more generally. And we've now celebrated 10 years of the EPPP, which has really pushed forward the development of the boys' game and the academy structures within that. And more recently, we've just signed a contract to take on auditing the women's academy system, as well as the ETC structure, which hopefully will start to build the base of the pyramid so that we're getting more quality education and training for women and girls from a younger age. And hopefully that will start to increase the numbers that are operating within the academy system. We've seen new funding recently from the Premier League to support some of that as well. So hopefully that will start to benefit the game. Obviously that's not going to be immediate, but we'll start to see that impact. And as a team, we're going to start to audit that and see if we can start to inspire that game to continue to grow. And obviously you would all be aware that recently they've announced a new company that's going to start to formalize the structures around the women's game, because there was a little bit of a almost a power tug there between the WSL sitting under the FA and then the Premier League growing in this massive way, but only taking the men's game with it at the time.
Wow. Also another exciting story here we have from also one of the leaders of professionalizing the game and make it fully professional. Premier League was also one of the leagues that have successfully get out of the loop of is it semi-pro or it's pro, because having the game semi-pro is for sure it's really affecting the quality, and the quality of course affecting the revenue. So this loop is always there in the women's football, and Premier League was one of the pioneers that really get out of this loop and started to also enhance the club competition as well. So back to Mr. Elchan. Yeah, you have really come through very, very long journey, and you just mentioned that you have started from the scratch because nothing was there about in 2010. And I think this was not only in Azerbaijan, because women's football back then was not like today. So first of all, while you're really working on that, have you expect the massive attendance and success for the tournament? Because I see that under 17 women's game, one of them was like 30,000, one of them was 20,000, 15,000. So have you expect that when you were really planning of that? And another question really related to the competition. What was the main footprints that this competition have really left behind, and how Azerbaijan have get benefit from it to see now what they are doing, and which is something I will speak about later, what the national team is currently doing.
Well, in terms of high attendance, I think the management of the federation at that time took very right approach in terms of finding right audience, and therefore they worked in close cooperation with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Sport, and local municipalities, because the main target group was young boys and girls who are interested in watching the game where the same age boys and girls, they are playing on the top level of on the world level. So they were very interested and motivated, and as I say, together with other governmental and non-governmental organizations, they managed all the logistics, promotion, also entertainment outside of the stadiums, where people had chance to take the photo with the cup, and for the opening ceremony we have got J-Lo. For the final it was Shakira. So it was like high profile organization. I think these factors played the key role. And the second, as I said before, we have legacy, which I clearly see that established leagues for women's national team, where at the time, for the time being, majority of players, they play abroad, which gives us additional advantage. Mostly they play in Turkey and Russia because of language. So we speak Turkish and some people Russian as well. But some players also played in Greece and some other countries. So we expect more girls to move from our league to more high-profile leagues in the future as well. I think. I hope I answered your question.
For sure, it really delivers, and also, very, very bright knowledge for everyone, because Azerbaijan now is really like a hub for mega events. But it's really interesting fact to let the audience know that it really started from women's football.
Yes.
That started in 2012, because everybody maybe thought about the Baku Europa League final in 2019, but it's really back, long way before, until Azerbaijan reaching this top level of organizing mega events, that Europa League final, and then it's followed by Euros, being part of the Euros, which is, I think, some big countries in Europe failed to make it, so that was also a great achievement. So thank you for this, and for Hassan. I would really go specifically about your club, because the most well-known fact about Arab Contractors Football Club in Egypt is to compete at the highest level, but actually with lowest budget. And this is DNA have been remained for very long years. So it's actually like identity in the club.
Yeah.
So as head of women's football now in Arab Contractors Football Club, is this DNA is transferred also and will be implemented to the women's football department as well, or you have ambition to go more beyond? Because everybody knows that the financial requirements and obligations of women's football are much less than to be competitive at men's football.
Okay, to be honest with you, اتكلم بقى بالعربي وانت ترجم بقى. احنا محظوظين ان النادي عندنا عنده هوية.
We are so lucky that our club have a pure identity.
وهوية مستقلة عن باقي الأندية المصرية.
Unique identity than other Egyptian clubs.
في كرة القدم الحديثة دايما البادجت أو الميزانية بقت لها دور كبير جدا وعامل مؤثر ومهم جدا.
In the modern football, the budget and the spending and investing in the team is really a crucial factor about being competitive.
وده اللي احنا ماشيين بيه في كرة القدم الرجالي من بداية الكورة لحد النهاردة.
And this is what we are doing with men's football since we are being established until this moment.
النادي قدر يحقق في الفترات الطويلة دي إنه يوصل لثالث أفضل الأندية المصرية حصولا على البطولات، وقدر كمان يحقق بطولات أفريقية.
And with this identity, the club have managed to make it at very highest level until they reach now third biggest club in Egypt in terms of the championship, and one of the 4 clubs in Egypt that make it and win an African championship.
الاختلاف دلوقتي إن أنت بقالك فترة في الكرة الرجالي، حاليا أنت لسه بتبدأ السيزون ده في الكرة النسائية، فأكيد الهوية اللي عند النادي أكيد هتتنقل للبنات، لكن محتاجة وقت عشان تنقل لهم الهوية دي.
Okay. That's also, this identity should be transferred as well also to the women's league, but it really needs time to be there, because in men's football, the club is now almost 50 years, and now it's just about to start in women's football.
وده بدور إدارة النادي حطوني في البوزيشن ده عشان عارفين كويس قوي الشخصية اللي عندي، إن أنا بحب المكان جدا، فطبيعي هبدأ أنقل الصورة اللي أنا كنت موجود بيها كلاعب.
And that's why the management actually have put me there in such position, because I served the club for many years, and I have the club DNA, and I was the captain. That's why they put me in this position, because they know how much I love the club, how much I know the club genes, and how I can easily make it and transfer it also to the women's club.
أنا لعبت 15 سنة في الفيرست ليج، منهم 6 سنين في النادي المقاولين، فعارف كويس قوي قيمة النادي. وعشان كده أنا اتحطيت في البوزيشن ده عشان أضيف للبنات الجزئية دي وانقل لهم الهوية بتاعت النادي اللي احنا بنعتمد عليها بشكل كبير جدا، وهي تعتبر المسار الحقيقي بتاعنا، الهوية بتاعت النادي.
I have been served, I have been played for 15 years in top division in Egypt, and 6 years of them was at the club. So I really know and understand what are the club expectations from women's football and how I can manage it. But as I said, it just need time.
من الحاجات الكويسة إن البنات عارفين قيمة النادي ومستوعبين الفكرة بشكل كويس.
From the things that we consider it as advantages, that the girls at our club that really knows the value of the t-shirt of the club and the value of the club.
وعشان كده أنا أعتقد إن الأمور محتاجة وقت، وإن مع الوقت الأمور هتبقى أفضل والبنات هتستوعب الفكرة بشكل كويس. ومع مرور الوقت احنا عاملين بروجكت لمدة 4 سنين أو 5 سنين بحيث إن احنا نقدر نحقق بطولة، وده اللي احنا بدأناه من أول يوم اشتغلنا فيه مع البنات.
And that's why, as I said, it really needs time, because I have to work a lot with it with the girls to make it, and we settled a 4 years plan to be a top level of women's football with the club, but with the same DNA that the club have.
لما كلفت بالأمر حطينا بروجكت، البروجكت ده حطينا اللي هو السوات اناليسيز، حطينا الفرص، نقاط القوة، نقاط الضعف، الفرص، المخاطر في الفترة الحالية وفي المستقبل. وكان عرضنا كمان الموضوع مش على الإدارة فقط، على البنات كمان عشان يعرفوا إيه البروجكت اللي هم أساس البروجكت ده، وهم أول سنة ليهم في البروجكت ده، فهم الأساس اللي هيكملوا بيه البروجكت عشان يقدروا من أول يوم لحد 3 4 سنين 5 يقدروا يحققوا فيه بطولة.
Yeah, we have made a 4 years plan, and we just make a SWOT analysis, what we have, what we can do, and we also show it to all of the girls at our club, to make them realize what we really want from them and want to achieve on the long term.
الهوية شيء مهم جدا.
Identity is really very important
على المستوى الجماعي وعلى المستوى الشخصي.
on group level and individual level.
فلازم يكون عندك هوية وتعتز بيها.
You should be proud of your identity that the club have.
وده اللي احنا بنستغله في نادي المقاولين بشكل كويس.
That's what we are going to exploit on this project.
وده اللي بننقله لكل الولاد سواء الولاد أو البنات في النادي.
And that DNA, that what we make it, what we put it inside the men's and women's level.
وكنا محظوظين ان احنا أسسنا أكاديمية وفريقين تحت السن 2009 و2004 وفيرست تيم، ده كله في خلال شهر واحد، وكلها عن طريق الاختبارات. فاسم النادي وهوية النادي هي اللي جعلت كل البنات يبقى في إقبال شديد على النادي.
We were really lucky of our club name, because when we said that we are going to establish a women's football department in the club, we received like many registration, and we have prepared and we have established actually 3 age groups and the first team. And that happened actually because the name of the club, and this is why we have really like a lot of demand to be joining our club.
متفائل جدا وحاسس ان البنات بتستوعب الفكر ده بشكل كويس.
I'm really optimistic, and I see that girls are really realizing what they are fighting for.
لكن زي ما قلت لك احنا محتاجين وقت مش اكتر.
But as I always mentioned, that we really need time for that. So thank you, Hassan, for that. Really interesting story. So just to enlighten also our audience, that Arab Contractors Football Club is having the best academy in Egypt. It's the home club of Mohamed Al-Neni from Arsenal, also Mohamed Salah from Liverpool, and also and this DNA is really from very early stages, before like having a clubs like serving like just to have like investing in the youth departments and then serving the first team and selling. They really have make it since the beginning of the 90s, and they won all of the championship with this. So moving to Sarah, you have really an impressive journey with diversity and travelings almost everywhere, with aim to help people to develop and enhance their overall football standards. I just want to ask, yeah, from your experience of this, because you're dealing with many peoples, could you name 3 countries that you feel that they are keen and flexible to put the same effort they do for men in women's as well to have the same level?
Well, yeah, that's that's a very interesting question. FIFA having 211 members as a national federation. I would say overall, and it can be, of course, witnessed at the latest women's World Cup in New Zealand and Australia. I think everyone watched. Hopefully, everyone here watched the final. That was England against Spain. So I would like to put a focus on the great work that that the European member associations are doing in this respect. Very well supported by UEFA, and that shows that in fact I cannot just say
one of them because it
exactly
was like group work.
exactly. I cannot just choose one of them in Europe because I do believe that there is a strong willingness from the authorities at European level regarding football and within clubs also in Europe to actually grow the women's game and bring it to the next stage. And this is something we can actually witness at during the final of the Women's World Cup. So that's for the efforts in Europe. Hopefully, it's not a surprise. But where I would like to somehow put some other names in this ranking that you're asking me to do, I think I would like to quote 2 other national federations, which in the last 2, 3, 4 years have been growing the women's game tremendously, and where I think no one expected them to do so. The first one being, of course, KSA, Saudi Arabia. The Women's League having been created less than 4 years ago, and having myself attended one of the games was a very interesting experience. Also witnessing players from American markets and Western Europe markets wanting to play there as women and being part of this growth movement that the KSA is currently taking as a priority in sport is something that I've noticed recently from the women's players. So I found this very, very interesting. While no one bet on this country to actually invest in women and in women's sports. So I really encourage everyone to take a look at it, as I think in the past 4 or 5 years, it's the highest growth that I could notice in the women's game. The other one would be also Morocco in Africa, and that can be also witnessed at the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. They were eliminated by France, but I think their path during that competition was something that obviously was very nice to see, and shows also the investments that the leadership in Morocco, that is in the football entities, but also within the government and at the highest level in the country. This basically synergy shows results during the final stages of the Women's World Cup. So I think I would quote those 2.
Well, diplomatic answer and yeah, diversitive answer as your journey, as what you were
Yes.
doing, and yeah, maybe yeah, it also yeah regarding yeah Saudi Arabia. Everybody knows what they are doing for now for women's football. How they really like boosting the level of the women's football in very few years. Also regarding Morocco, yeah, I think yeah the CAF actually the last AF women's AFCON. Yeah, we see like 50,000, 56,000 in the stadium regarding women's football. Maybe also yeah to just like explain a bit about inspiration of what Sarah have said, that Morocco as well, started the World Cup really with not the best performance, but at the end they managed to come back and make it again. So that's also something rare. I see a very, very interesting answer, and as I mentioned, it's very diversitive, so you really choose to how it goes. So, and Shidam, I just, before handing over, giving you the moderation round, I just wanted to ask you about how it goes. How it goes for you? You have been, as you mentioned, you have been involved for 10 years, in youth football and grassroots. So, and you just getting involved in women's football. So maybe I just wanted to have like an initial feedback about the characteristics, the common characteristics between men's and women's youth football and grassroots.
Well, the structures are obviously very different because we're on a very different journey and the timelines are different. So I think it's always unfair to make a direct comparison. But I think we're in a healthy position where we can look at the men's game, we can look at the boys' structures from an academy perspective and youth development perspective and see what's worked, what would we adopt in the women's game, and on the contrary, what would we do differently. But I also think that we need to reflect on the fact that the women's game's already been doing a lot in a different way, and there's things that the boys and the men's game can learn from the women's game. And I think as a team and the staff that we engage with across all of the stakeholders in the UK are really mindful of that, and they do try to do that. So I think it would be harmful to just make direct links and comparisons when we know that the women's game is in a position to do things differently and potentially set a different standard for itself. Obviously, the resourcing is very different. We're in a position where clubs have, for years and consistently, been funding the men's pathway and the men's pathway to the top very differently. And when we look at the panel discussion around like career opportunities and the expansion beyond just playing the football, what's the operations like, what's the commercial aspect side, we know that there needs to be more growth in the women's game from that perspective. But as I said, we're in a healthy position where we've now set some criteria that the new academy systems are going to be operating against. And actually on Monday is going to be our first audit within the women's game. So I'm hoping that that goes well. I'm supposed to be leading that, but I'm obviously on annual leave here to join yourselves. But we are looking forward to that. And we know that the first set of these audits, the first round, is going to be able to give us really valuable feedback. I think there's a lot to be learned, both from the men's game and, as we know, like other countries are in different positions. Everyone's on a different journey. But the women's game really is an opportunity for us to try and do football very differently. So I do hope that we have the time to reflect and not just adopt what's already happening in the men's game.
Okay, that's really insightful answer, and which really will take me to many questions that I will speak about to my guest. But maybe after I take the moderation round from you.
Okay, this is the bit where we just go ad hoc. So I guess we'll just turn it into a bit of a natural discussion around where we think the women's game is starting to go towards. So I think it would be quite nice to hear from the different perspectives. Obviously, we're all working in different regions. It would be nice to hear from everyone what they think the next stages of development is for the women's game, and try and add that cultural perspective. And obviously for me, sitting in the position that I am, saying that we're just about to take the step into the women's game and I'll be leading that, I'm happy to really learn from you guys and see what I can get from this panel as well. So I don't know if you want to start and we go through and just see what we think the next set of developments are.
So can I clarify the question? So how do we see the further development of Women's League? Okay. So for us, I'm the head of club licensing. I'm in charge of club licensing system in Azerbaijan, meaning that we make sure that the clubs comply with certain requirements in order to be able to get the permission to compete in European competitions as well as on domestic level. In terms of club licensing, I would like to give you a bit of context and then I will answer your question. So first of all, club licensing, as we previously discussed with Fatih, some clubs in the beginning, they were seeing this as an artificial barrier to disallow clubs to compete in the competitions. But in fact, initiative has come from the clubs. Why? Because first of all, it started actually in late 90s when several countries collapsed as Yugoslavia and Soviet Union, and we as a country which is coming from the Soviet background, I can tell you that in Soviet time, there was no such definition as a professional club. All the players, they were working somewhere in a factory, etc., got the salary from there, and then there was the team of players working in the factory. So, in fact, majority of sports were like this. But in Soviet time, there were great results like Olympic champions, etc., but they were not professional sportsmen on the paper. And the definition of professional club in people's mind was like, okay, there are 20 players, one coach, doctor, and team manager maybe. So that is something what needed to be changed because the club and the team is not equal, obviously. Now all of us understand that, but at that time, people were thinking differently. And the second reason was that when these clubs started competing in European competitions, the level of infrastructure was inadequate. So let's imagine Real Madrid is coming to one of the countries. First home match in Madrid, great infrastructure, pitch, everything, and then they come having in the squad quite expensive players, which cost like few hundred millions, and then there is no hot water to have a shower after the match, or the pitch is so poor that they have many damages. So the club came with such initiative saying that, okay, guys, if we provide you with a good conditions, we expect to do the same. That's why it came as a pilot project initiated by UEFA. And then after a couple of years, in 2004, it started to become mandatory for all member associations. And actually, the first club who won Champions League being licensed was Liverpool in 2004 in Istanbul. Therefore, the system has proven itself. So clubs started to try to comply with the requirements on 5 pillars, which are sporting, mainly related to the academies, to youth development, to education for the youth players in such areas as anti-racism, anti-doping, refereeing, etc. Then second pillar was infrastructure, which I already mentioned, which is important not only for the official matches, but also for the training, because clubs must make sure that all teams have proper infrastructure, which might be used during the season for trainings and for home matches as well. The third pillar is personal administrative, where clubs have to make sure that the coaches and the staff who is working in the clubs have proper qualification. For example, if you want to play in UEFA Champions League or Europa League, your head coach must have pro diploma. The same applies for the media officers, which need to get some basic knowledge how to organize press conference or mix zone or flash interviews, etc. How to work with journalists. Or accountant must have diploma in finance, etc. And then fourth pillar is legal. The club, first of all, must be legal entity, must comply with certain requirements. And now the new trend in the world is multi-ownership, which is also something under monitoring of FIFA and UEFA at the moment. And the last one, most I think important, is the finance. Clubs must to make sure that there are no overdue payables towards players, coaches, other staff, other clubs, UEFA, FIFA, tax authorities, social authorities, etc. So the club must prove that it is a sustainable club who is able to pay all the obligations on time. And the last pillar is social responsibility, which is currently implemented only at the UEFA level, which is very, very important, of course. And UEFA wants clubs to start doing more and more in terms of social projects and to become more useful for the community where they are based. Seeing these steps, FIFA decided that, okay, this is a good project, clubs are developing, let's implement it on the global level. So they started implementing this. Some were more slow, some were very fast. In Asia, for example, it's very widespread. In Africa, our colleagues are doing very great job because we meet them from time to time during different conferences, and I can see how they develop the system in Africa. Currently, in Azerbaijan, we are concentrated on development of the women's club licensing system, which is well supported by both UEFA and FIFA in terms of finance and expertise. And actually, upcoming summer, we expect our champion in the Women's League, first time to represent our country in the Women's Champions League. At the same time, we started domestic club licensing because coming from the experience from men's, initially we started only with the clubs which were willing to play in UEFA competitions. It was like, let's say, 3, 4, 5 clubs, but the rest, as there was no obligation, they didn't really care, and the gap was increasing. So these guys, they do nothing because they say, okay, I will not play anyway. And these guys, following the instructions of UEFA and the federation, they were increasing, and investing in all these pillars which I mentioned above. So this time we decided not to do the same approach. We started all together. Of course, there is difference between standards on domestic level and European, but still clubs are trying to fulfill all these obligations. So this is our main concentration. I think in order to build a good league, the clubs must be sustainable, with good coaches, with good pitches, with good infrastructure, etc.
Really to the point, and really one of the most interesting things in football industry, because for me, for example, when I used to be just a normal football fan, I was just really thinking, as we discussed, like this is such a barrier that really banned clubs, or barrier on clubs to participating in confederation competitions. But when I joined football industry, I see that it's a tool to these clubs and these federations and these leagues to improve and to improve their infrastructure, their managerial structure, the level of the players. It's also beneficial for the players themselves because when you have professional standards, players going more and more professional, so they have more focus on the game, more focus on just football. They don't need to have a side job to survive financially. So you have a good quality. So this is really like a crucial part to enhance the overall level of the football in the country. So thank you for this.
Fatih, is it just worth saying that unfortunately that's not the case for the women's game?
Yeah.
So I know
So, yeah.
that's not the case, is it? So even though the UK is regarded as one of the more successful models for women's football, we're still seeing the pattern of dual careers. And that's something that we need to get our heads around and find out what the resourcing structures need to be like. We need to try and accelerate the growth of women's game from a commercial perspective so that we can get more of that resource and that infrastructure from a funding perspective so that women can start to professionalize more quickly. Because at the moment that's not the case. Women don't have the
for
luxury
women's,
of doing that.
It just started to be in women's, but for men's the start was really from licensing. Yeah, licensing was like back to like 7-8 years ago. Like putting really strict licensing requirements, not like just having such agreements to participate. No, that's strict. And this is really promoted very many football associations and many clubs to be able to participate. So now it just started to be implementing into the women's game. Yeah, for sure. It's not. Yeah, you're totally correct.
I mean, like even just irrespective of the licensing structures. The women's game doesn't allow all women to be full-time football players. They can't be professional, and that's all they do.
Yeah.
So that's obviously
Yeah,
a gap
that's-
that we need to be able to travel.
to fill it actually, and yeah,
Yeah.
you're crucial part of this because you're starting from very early stages.
Yeah.
So حسن اتكلم عن الكورة عموما في الكورة النسائية بشكل عام اتطورت ازاي في الفترة الأخيرة؟ ايه الحاجات اللي طورت الكورة النسائية الفترة الأخيرة؟ وايه اللي انت شايفه عموما الاتجاه اللي شايف مصر ماشية فيه عموما في الكورة النسائية؟
اوكي. هو طبعا الموضوع في مصر كان صعب شويه
Egypt was quite complicated case.
لان الموضوع بيبقى مرتبط شويه بالعادات والتقاليد بتاعت الشعوب العربيه.
It was really linked to purely traditional habits for the most of the Middle East nations.
فكره ان بنت تلعب كره القدم كانت فكره صعبه جدا على ناس كتير.
Yeah, the concept of having girl playing football was quite complicated of majority of the people over there.
خصوصا بقى لو في بنات جايه من قرى الريف ومن قرى الصعيد، فالموضوع بيبقى صعب جدا عشان عندهم عادات وتقاليد اشد.
In Egypt, there are some specific regions that have even more strict traditional barriers that could really prevent girls from playing football.
الغريب بقى لما احنا جينا في المقاولين العرب ننفذ الفكره دي على ارض الواقع.
What was really strange when we started to start our women's football department on the ground.
ففوجئنا ببنات بيجوا مسافات طويله جدا، ممكن تيجي سفر في اليوم 8 ساعات 10 ساعات عشان تيجي تتمرن تمرينه، مش تلعب جيم، تتمرن تمرينه وتمشي.
We see that a lot of we have received a lot of registrations for girls. They used to come over like 8 hours traveling for just to having training and go back.
الموضوع ما ينفعش يبقى بشكل فردي، ان البنات يبقوا متحمسين والاهالي بيساعدوهم على كده والانديه تبقى مش سبورت لده.
Yeah, the case in Egypt, it shouldn't become this growth shouldn't become like from individual basis, but no, the country, the sporting government, also the clubs should play a crucial part in this.
انا بتكلم بقى على الكيس الخاصه بينا كنادي المقاولين.
Yeah, that's for our case, for our club as Arab Contractors Club.
خصوصا ان احنا بدانا الكره النسائيه بعمل اختبارات على مستوى الجمهوريه كلها.
Yeah, especially that we made a tryouts to consist the team from all over the geographical context of Egypt.
احنا عارفين ان كانت التجربه صعبه وان احنا مش عايزين نحط بادجت في الاول.
It wasn't an easy challenge because we don't wanted to put we don't wanted to put a lot of money in the beginning, just to have the right balance between the men's budget and women's budget.
لكن تحمس البنات وان لقينا عناصر مميزه جدا جدا في كره الصعيد والكره الريفيه.
But excitement we see excitement in the eyes of those girls that coming from really long distances, like south of Egypt and north of Egypt. They're cutting all over all of these geographics just to want to play and participate in football.
اداره النادي غيرت السيستم كله.
The management of the club have changed the whole system.
اصبحت متحمسه اكتر من اللعيبه ومن اولياء امورهم.
Become more excited than the parents and the players.
فبدا يوفروا سكن للولاد دول بدل ما يروحوا ويجوا، بداوا يوفروا لهم سكن.
They started to have to like rent accommodation places for these players to not make them cutting all over this distance.
بدأ الموضوع يبقى فيه بعض العدالة، زي ما انت بتوفر ده للفريق كرة القدم او لقطاعات الناشئين للولاد، فبدأ ده كمان يتعمل على المستوى الآخر بالنسبة للبنات عشان يبقى فيه عدالة شوية.
We make like a fair balance between men's team, because men's team also for the players who are coming abroad, they have an accommodation places, specific accommodation places within the club. So we started to make it also for the women's, to make the right balance between the men's and women's football.
لما بدأنا الدوري وبدأ لقوا فيه اهتمام كبير جدا سواء من الميديا ومن الإعلام من الجمهور بكرة القدم النسائية، بقى ليهم متابعين ليهم مشجعين خصوصا الفيرست تيم.
And recently there is a pure focus on women's football in Egypt, especially the first national team and also the first teams of some of the clubs.
أحلام النادي بدأت تكبر كمان في الكرة النسائية.
So the ambition of the club have started to be to go more and more beyond in women's football.
ليه بقى ما اهتمش بكرة القدم النسائية، خصوصا ان هي لعبة حديثة عندنا في مصر، وانا انا عندي تاريخ كبير جدا في كرة القدم الرجالي، فليه ما يبقاش نفس الفكر ده في كرة القدم النسائية واقدر احقق منه البطولات اللي انا عايز احققها.
So why I shouldn't care about, for example, I have to care about women's football because it's such a new project, and investment in such new project could really restore the history of the club to win a championship again for the club, also in football by women's football.
وبالفعل الإدارة بدأت تحط بادجت أكبر.
So the management started to put more and more budget,
وبدأوا في يناير يشتروا لعيبة تانية
and they
من أندية
started
تانية
to participate actively in the winter transfer window.
مستغلين اسم النادي ان في لعيبه كتير دلوقتي لو جيت عرضت عليه اسم نادي المقاولين بفلوس اقل من النادي اللي هو بيلعب فيه هيفضل انه يجي المقاولين عشان اسم النادي واسم النادي كبير جدا.
Exploiting the fact that we really have a deep history in football, and exploiting that fact that this fact like prefer us over other clubs for the player just to play for our club.
وزي ما احنا بنقول ان النادي ده خرج محمد صلاح والنني وفي عدد كبير جدا من اللعيبه الناشئين اللي انا كنت حاليا من السيزون اللي فات بعد اداره دبلومه الاداره الرياضيه اداره النادي كلفتني بمشروع ان احنا بنبني ناشئين عشان نخرجهم في اوروبا. ليه لا ما نعملش ده مع البنات خصوصا الجيل الصغير وعندنا عناصر مميزه جدا في الجيل ده.
Okay, so I've also started. I've also was doing an academic management, sports management course, and I said to myself that we are doing actually a very unique things on the men's youth development. For example, such implementing like a DNA test to see how the player could react and how to promote the education standards. So why not? We shouldn't make it on women's level. So we have graduated Mohamed Salah, we have graduated Mohamed Elneny, we also graduated many other players. One of them, by the way, for our Turkish audience, that Omar Fayed was the center back.
Yeah, Beşiktaş.
The center back, Fenerbahce. Have gone to Fenerbahce. Have been going to Fenerbahce at this summer. Now he's on loan in Serbia, but
Yes.
just an overview to our audience. This is how this club have a massive history about it.
عشان كده النادي مش بيفكر ده على المستوى الرجالي فقط لكن خلاص احنا بنفكر في ده على المستوى النسائي برضو وجالنا عروض في بعد 3-4 شهور للبنات الافريقيه. احنا معانا 2 محترفات جالهم عروض من بره مصر فليه لا يعني واي نوت ان احنا نعمل ده مع كل الولاد اللي عندنا موجودين في النادي.
So why not we thinking about like promoting another graduates that can make it like the men's side that have make it, and promoting the game.
Okay.
That's all.
That's all.
So here's your part.
Well, I think we've been speaking a lot about, the standards that are required on paper to boost the women game. So club licensing being part of it, infrastructure being part of it. So structural meaning nice training grounds, the proper tangible means. But I think where we should also speak about is really also the genuine willingness to bring the game forward, not to take it as a charity measure within a federation, within a league, or within a club, but as a real possibility to have a commercial product in the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that's something that we don't speak about often because we take this exercise of boosting the women's game as a tick box exercise. So we need to have the training ground, we need to have this, but is there the real willingness at leadership level to bring the women's game to the next step, to the next level? And that's something, to be honest, in my career at FIFA over the past decade, it's difficult to really understand whether leaders of federations, leaders of football, bodies, really want to bring the women's game to that level, because that would mean to take a situation that is given now at this moment and invest probably more than they have to invest in the men's game. So this also brings questions relating to whether there should be a separation in terms of also structure between those leading the women's game and those leading the men's game. Obviously, the financial means that benefits the women's game at the moment doesn't allow most of the women's team to have this separate entity, but maybe in the future with private investors coming and deciding to only focus on the women's game and to only fund the women's game, that can be something we can assess and find out whether also this can boost the women's game in a short and mid-term basis. I think another aspect that we need to also speak without taboo, because this is actually part of the daily business of dealing with women's game, is whether the game is safe for girls and women. I think we've seen an increasing number of cases of different sort of abuses raised by women in the game, or raised by men towards women. So I think this is also a very important part of the discussion. In order for the women's game to grow, we need to make it a safe environment. And at the moment, being completely blunt with you, I'm not sure this is the case. So I think this has to be really the conversation also to be brought on the table, in addition to the financial and structural means to boost the game.
A pyramid conversation. We have a governing body, we have a football association, we have a football club. What really a great discussion. I'm really happy to be a part of it.
2024
No.
Okay, so back to you, Sarah. So I'm taking over again. So I just want back to you again about, since you are joining our, have an upcoming adventure, another diverse adventure.
Yes.
So in relation to that, related to the ECA, I have read, 10 years ago, ECA published a report that categorized the women's football clubs, women's football member clubs, into 4 categories. Category 1 was men's clubs that have a women's team, and they both performing almost at the same level. The second one was men's clubs having a women's teams, but men's are stronger. The third case was men's clubs that have women teams, but women's participating and performing much better. And then the last one was the standalone clubs, the clubs that really started the game, but they are really struggling now because joining of big brands, they are struggling now to survive. So I just want to have your overview about this. About, does women's football have to make their own pathway and their unique and specific pathway towards development, or just to keep on sticking and be on the shade of men's football structure?
It's a really good question, and I think it actually correlates with what I just mentioned. I think first and foremost, it's a question of leadership. I will take the example of OL, Olympique Lyonnais, so the club in Lyon. The former leader, Jean-Michel Aulas, was actually leading the club that was the men and women's team, with an amazing period of time between 2000 2008 for the men's team. I think we all remember what they achieved at national level, but most specifically at European level as well. I do remember also when I was younger wanting to support that team, while I was actually not supporting that team, because what they were achieving for French football at European level was something that we had failed to see at that moment. So I think it was a great experience to see that, and it was under the leadership of Jean-Michel Aulas. And what we could also see under his leadership is how he developed the women's game, putting basically Olympique Lyonnais as one of the top club for women's in the market, if not the best in Europe. So that shows that it's the willingness to invest or not and bring the game to the next level. That person managed to do it and try to do it for both, let's say, both categories. Now we are also witnessing a certain type of situation where also, if you look at what Olympique Lyonnais is doing, with the new ownership, they decided to separate both the men and women's game, and create for the women's game a separate entity. So that is also something very interesting, and that we will have to assess in the next 2 to 5 years to understand whether only the investment made in the women's game with their own funding will allow them to actually support themselves at this level. Whether, of course, it was better to keep them under, the same remit together with the men's team. It's to be honest an answer I don't have, because it's obviously it requires more years for such an assessment. But what I do believe is really based on the willingness to develop the game, that then you can attract funding, then you can basically also make sure that the game is safer, so that you have more women taking part in the game and boost the game. But structurally speaking, whether the women's team should stay within a brand or not, I would say at this stage, yes, if the current brand that is in place and the leadership leading that brand ensures that it is also their priority to grow the game and not taking it as a simple charity measure. Yeah.
So insightful for me. It's good now. Yeah, it was really good that they have it as a stage, like keeping with like taking hands in each other's, with men's, and now they just like grow up, so they have to make it their own.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for this really insightful answer. So moving to the club perspective and related again to the governance. So in Egypt, actually, the top division, the men's top division clubs was really allowed. If they establish a women's football team, a part of the club, they could make it on the women's top division directly. And that actually what Hassan have decided, because Arab Contractor was just established and he really decided to participate directly in the top division. I'm really curious about how brave man you are to take this challenge. Haven't you afraid of the club brand, especially is the third biggest club in Egypt? Haven't you afraid of the club brand? So especially because you are going to compete with teams like in the top division for almost like 10, 11 years since the competition started. So I'm really curious to know what you was thinking about while taking this decision.
Nice question. هو بص يا فتحي التحديات في بدايتها بتبقى صعبة جدا.
Yeah, all challenges in the beginning are really difficult.
بس دايما اللي بيبقى عنده تحدي بيسبق بخطوات كتيرة.
But the ones who take it on, always being a lead with many steps than others who really don't decide it.
احنا في البداية كنا بادئين بأكاديمية فقط لا غير.
In the beginnings, we were just about like having an academy, no more.
فالاتحاد الافريقي قال لك ان كل الفرق اللي هتشارك في الدوري الممتاز بدايه من الموسم المقبل مش الموسم الحالي لازم تشارك بكره قدم نسائيه.
As part of the club licensing regulations that CAF have been implemented, that all top division club should have been having a senior team for women's football.
فمعظم الانديه اللي في الدوري الممتاز كلها قالت انا هبدا من الموسم الجديد لان في انديه عندها اسم كبير، في انديه زي النادي الاهلي والنادي الزمالك اسمهم كبير جدا فاعتذروا عن المشاركه في الموسم ده وقال لك هنشارك من الموسم المقبل.
So the majority of the football clubs, of the top football clubs, they said that it's okay. We still have until the next year as a deadline. So we are going now to have like a youth team or a grassroots team, and then we can really make it from the next year at the top division.
فقلنا ليه نأخر الخطوه للموسم اللي جاي وليه ما نبداش من دلوقتي؟
So we said to ourselves, why we should delay? We have to take it anyway, so let's make it now.
المجازفة أو المغامرة هي صعبة جدا وشاقة جدا لكن لها متعتها الخاصة.
The overall risks, it's really complicated and really hard, but it always have its part of uniqueness and enjoyment.
فالرهان اللي كان معانا أولا اسم النادي وتاريخه، ورغم كده أنت خايف على اسم النادي وتاريخه.
So the things, the value that we have, that the club name, the club brand and its history.
فكان عندنا الشجاعة إن احنا ناخد الخطوة دي
So we were brave to take this step.
وأنا كلفت بالمهمة الصعبة دي.
And I got appointed actually for this mission.
هنشوفك بقى هتنجح ولا الموضوع هيبقى صعب بالنسبة لك.
Yeah, it was like we will see you will gonna succeed or not.
فأنا عملت حاجة كويسة قوي للبنات من أول يوم كنت موجود فيه.
So since the first day, I implemented like a policy for the girls.
I lost a lot of money because every training I gave them the money for any training. If anyone do the training is very good, I give her money every training. You are with me every time.
Yeah, so yeah, that's true. So he make a personal investment on the club.
فالبنات بتنقل الصورة لبعض فبدأ يجي لنا عدد كبير جدا في الاختبارات.
So it keep on spreading among the girls. So they got encouraged to keep on like having their friends to joining the club.
فالحمد لله قدرنا نكون عدد كبير جدا من الاختبارات وعملنا قطاع كامل في أول شهر.
So we made a lot of trials.
أكاديمية و2004 و2009 وفيرست تيم.
So we make a countless trials. So we established a football department within almost 1 month.
المشكلة إن الكواليتي ما كانتش أعلى حاجة.
The main issue that the quality was not the top because we still unexperienced club and top players are already on top clubs.
الخطورة إن في أسماء في أندية هي بادئة من بدري قوي وعندها تيم قوي جدا وما عندهاش اسم، يعني اسم النادي صغير بس عنده فريق قوي جدا في الكرة النسائية.
Yeah, the risks is there are some brands that really don't have a big names as us, but they really have very good talented top talented players because they really started very earlier than us.
ودي كانت من المخاطر اللي هنواجهها.
And that was the risk because you really compete with someone is really at different level than you.
ان انت بتلعب اسم نادي مش معروف وانت اسمك كبير جدا وهتخسر منه بسكور عالي.
Because you are well-known brand in football, but you are playing against unknown brand for men's football, but you are at risk to lose like a big score against them.
بس زي ما قلت لك المغامرة هي صعبة جدا وشاقة ولا ثمنها بس هي ممتعة.
But as I said, risks are really complicated and really difficult to take, but it have its unique taste actually.
الحمد لله خدنا الخطوة وواجهتنا صعوبات في أول 7-8 ماتشات. بعد كده شفنا بدأنا لقينا في أخطاء في أول 10 ماتشات فبدأنا نعمل تغييرات خلال الأخطاء اللي احنا شايفينها.
So we started, it was really tough in the beginning in the first 7-8 games, but we started to implement many changes. So we put many changes, we intervened. So
بعد ما كنا الفريق الأخير في الدوري
we started as bottom for the first 4 or 5 leagues.
مع الشغل بدأنا نطلع step
With
by
really
step.
hard working, we started to have much better things, but gradually.
بعدنا عن المناطق الهبوط وبقينا في المنطقة الآمنة دلوقتي.
So we skipped completely the relegation zone in the league.
And this is our target in the first season.
And this is our target in the first season, just to be in the safe place at really the top division.
الجميل بقى وانت شغال على ده احنا بنحاول نقوي قطاع الناشئين وعندنا قطاع ناشئين دلوقتي فريق 2009 فريق هايل ومحقق نتائج كويسة جدا.
What is really good that we are trying now, we're still trying to have this target to be still in the first division, but at the same time, the youth teams are really having really good results at their age group. So that's something we really could build on after we achieve our target.
تخيل بقى انت عملت ده وبنو بادجت يعني ما عندكش ميزانية.
So imagine you have achieved all of this and you come all of this without even having a proper budget.
فإدارة النادي لما شافت ده تحمست وبدأت تحط بادجت.
So the excitement at the senior management at the club have been more excited, so they put more investments.
وخلاص بقى في دلوقتي هدف اعمل لنا مشروع لمدة 3 سنين 4 سنين نقدر نحقق في بطولة وتكون بداية لبطولات مقبلة.
And that's why we implemented a long-term plan, 4 years plan, to have the first championship that could bring many to the club again.
النقطة المهمة اللي هختم بيها
The last point and the most important point,
ودي مهمة جدا للبنات اللي موجودين.
and really important for the girls that are coming today.
احنا دايما بنبقى شايفين طابع القتال والحماس والرجولة بالمعنى يعني البلدي اللي احنا بنقوله دايما موجود في الولاد.
So we see always at all time that like having like a good fighting spirits has been almost always in men's, but
الغريب اللي انا شفته بقى
what was really special to me,
ان البنات عندها اكتر من كده.
that girls have even more than I see in men.
بشوف في بنات بتقاتل عشان تحترف دلوقتي.
And I started to see that some girls are really fighting to playing abroad.
تخيل ان ده
Like the
اول
examples that I just mentioned.
you can imagine this is the first season for this girl to thinking about I will fight to be professional player. Okay.
That's very unique.
مع الولاد انا شفته مع قطاعات الناشئين في الولاد انا شفت ده الولاد مستهترين جدا ممكن يقعد 3 سنين 4 سنين على ما يستوعب الفكره بتاعت انه ازاي يبقى فايتر ومتحمس
which
فالبنات
is something take much longer, for example, for our men's
ف...
to realize such DNA to be a fighter on ground. It
Let-
might take 3-4 years, but with girls, it's much faster.
عشان كده لازم يصدقوا نفسهم،
So that's why you girls have to believe in yourselves.
لازم تبقى مؤمنة بنفسها.
You have to really fight for what you want.
الدنيا اتغيرت، العالم كله اتغير دلوقتي.
Words are really changing.
كل الاتحاد الدولي باتحادات المحلية كل الناس
From seniors, from governing bodies, top governing bodies to confederations, to clubs.
بقى امر واقع دلوقتي ان انت تقدري تبقي لعيبه محترفه ومشهوره، وزي ما كل لعيب فينا، انا لعبت كره قدم كان هدفي ان انا احط نفسي وعيلتي على الخريطه،
So
وده هدفك انت كمان.
nothing different in the purposes that when I used to play, I wanted to make something for myself and for my family, to make them proud of me.
So you have to fight for yourself and for your family also. You have a chance now. The whole people, the whole world supported you. So you have to fight on your goal. You have to put your goal in front of you and fight for this goal. It's easy now to do this, but you have to believe in yourself. This is for you. Okay? Thank you.
Hassan. So, a brave man who really take a risks that big clubs, not even in Egypt, but in the beginnings of the transformation of women's football, I see a really, really big brands that was really in risk to take this decision or to play because they are afraid of the brand to lose like big scores against the other teams or even on the rival teams on the men's side. But that was really great, very motivation for the audience here and
Yes.
of course for the Egyptian girls that they really have to really believe in themselves.
كرة القدم يا فتحي ممتعة، كرة القدم ممتعة. لازم تبقى
Football
تلعب
is
كرة.
is really exciting and enjoyment at all levels, not only on men's. It's really not exclusive for men's.
الأول الناس كانت بتاخد الكرة إن هي حاجة فاني، أنا رايح أتبسط، رايح
It was
ألعب.
just a fun activity, but now it's really
الكرة دلوقتي
different.
أصبحت صناعة كبيرة،
It's becoming now a huge industry,
بقت شغل،
like a profession actually.
وهتلاقي أي حد بيلعب كرة ملوش شغلانة تانية غير إنه لاعب كرة قدم، ما ينفعش يعمل حاجة تانية معاها. If you want to be a professional, you have to only this job. You have to be a professional football player.
Okay.
فالكرة شيء مهم جدا دلوقتي، لازم الناس تستمتع بيها، يبقى شغل وفي نفس الوقت تستمتع بيه وما
It
تحطش
has to be your profession as your work actually,
ما تشتغلش وانت مضغوط.
and to not play when you are under stress because you have another things to do.
انت التزام،
Just be disciplined,
يكون عندك هدف،
having a pure goal,
تقاتل من اجل الهدف ده،
fighting for this goal.
هترتاح بعد كده وتحس ان انت حققت
You
كل
will
اللي
really
انت عايزه.
feel comfortable and proud of yourself because you achieved what you want.
فرصة لكل بنت ان هي تقول انا موجودة من خلال الشغلانة دي.
It's a pure opportunity for every girl to show herself through the women's football, through this game.
That's all.
So yeah. So before concluding, because yeah, I really enjoying this. I wanted to keep going on this like 3-4 days, not like this. So yeah, Ulchin, I just want to see because Azerbaijan women's national team is really doing a great job, and they really like having a good standards and good levels, as you really just mentioned about that. They really played in Turkey. They really played in Russia. So this is a good fact. So how you convince them to play for the national team? Because on men's level, it's really complicated if he's really playing in advanced country in men's football, he might choosing Azerbaijan to play for as a national team. But yeah, lastly, for women's, it's not the case. So first one is really like it's really a good thing and a pride for the nation. So how you convince them to either play, to choose Azerbaijan over any other country, or, although the job is not complicated as men's side. And then another one related to it, it's really good, but this might make a challenge, for example, for the National League to have a gap of levels because the abroad players having better standards and they are just like ahead of national level. So I would really interesting to know it about you. What are your perspective about it?
Actually, it's a bit difficult to speak after such a motivating speech. I want to applaud. Very good speech. Thank you. Well, in terms of our teams, I think our girls, when they started playing abroad, the opportunity was actually coming from the national team. So first they became the members of national team, were chosen from the domestic league, and then there was a floor for them in the international matches to show themselves, and the scouts or the clubs decided to invite them. Now, in terms of demotivation for girls who are still playing on the local level, I think by entering international competitions for the clubs, this is a very good chance to show themselves and to follow the girls which are already playing abroad, so they have really good chance to play in Women's Champions League. Then join either the national team or to go abroad, and then from there. So a bit like a circle, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
You
It's
just,
vice
show,
versa, you know.
you just need to show yourself, and then
Yeah.
the chance will come, I think.
So very, very insightful for me. I really enjoy it. I really would really like to last it like for 2-3 days, like not 1 hour, you know. But yeah, women's football is always like never-ending topic. So now we are running out of time, but we will allow like 1 or 2 questions if some of the audience having a question about it.
No questions.
Nothing? Okay. We have 1 question. We have one. Yeah. There is also another one here.
Herkese teşekkür ederiz. Altınordu, Galatasaray, Başakşehir kulüplerinde akademi direktörlükleri yaptım.
And
Translator?
translate? You want?
Yeah,
For
you
me,
can
yeah.
take.
Yeah.
Translate for me. I can translate. It depends.
Someone
If
can
it's, if it's
translate?
reflect to Hassan, it will be a long way because they'd have to translate it from Turkish to English and English to Arabic.
Yeah.
So I'm really sorry. I'm not sure we have this time. But of course, we can really discuss it after that.
Hocam siz soruyu sorun,
Tamam.
cevaplandırabilirsiniz.
Birçok kulüpte akademi direktörlüğü yaptım erkeklerle. Çok sorunlar yaşadık. Şimdi kızlar, genç kızlar, özellikle genç kadın futbolu öyle söyleyeyim. Aynı zorluklarla yaşasın, gelişsin istemiyorum. Birçok konu var tabii konuşulabilecek ama bu genç kızlarımızın antrenmanlarla veya antrenmanlara gerekli vakti ayırabilmesi için eğitimle, yani okulla olan ilişkileri, bundan kalan zaman, bir zaman kalmalı mı, bir eğitim planlamasına ihtiyaç var mı? Bunu sormak istedim. Bir de sevgili Hasan'a isteğim var ondan. 2 tane takımımız var ve antrenman performanslarını iyi duruma getirmek istiyorlar. Katkını bekliyorlar.
There's 2 parts to that. One part was he doesn't want women that are developing the systems now to go through the same struggles that boys and men have in the past. For that, would we need more cooperation with educational institutions to make sure that that's a smoother transition? And the second part was more of a request, I'm assuming in jest as well, that there's 2 teams here and they'd like your contribution in relation to improving their training programs. Not right now, but like
Yeah,
just
okay.
obviously.
Okay. So that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for the second question that we couldn't take because we're really out of time. So I'm really,
Fine.
yeah. I have to translate?
No, I mean, that was the question. I translated it.
Yeah, okay. So anyone wanted to take that? To take that question?
Well, I can try. I think it's in order for girls to maybe develop quicker, it's important, as you mentioned, to have training programs also within a school system. And that's why it's important to bring, the government in those discussions, and especially Ministry of Education, together with also the Ministry of Sport. At least from where I'm from, there are possibilities to of course, have this training included in the curriculum of young kids at school. but it requires a sort of agreement between, let's say, the football authorities at national level, between the governments and the different ministries, and also if this initiative is supported by FIFA and the relevant confederation, depending on the region, their involvement as well is possible. So, for instance, FIFA has developed in the past several years, in the past couple of years, a program called Football for School that actually pushes countries, not only federations, but countries, to integrate football within the curriculum of kids, so boys and girls. And that's why it's really important for a national federation to speak openly about this program that FIFA is promoting, together with their governments. And that means specifically the Ministry of Education. And that's how you can see then progress that takes place from a very, very young age.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
Thank you very
yeah,
much
we are
to
wrapping up.
Elçin Mamadov, Hasene Sharami, Sara Solemal, and Fatih Bedelgari, of course, Çiğdem Türkan. Just please stay with us for the next panel. That panel is going to be the secrets of football recruitment.